So yes, hello everyone. Thank you for giving up your, what night is it? Monday evening. Models of Diversity asked me to do this IntsaLive tonight just so that I could say hello and share a little bit about my story, which for a wonderful charity like Models of Diversity, of course, I am more than happy to do. I think that a charity like Models of Diversity is so important, and I don't think I can do this session tonight without addressing why charities like Models of Diversity are so important, especially in the current climate. So I do just want to elevate the Black Lives Matter movement before anything else, because I think that, you know, that is and should take priority at the moment. I think that we should all be making sure that we are doing our bit and educating ourselves, not putting it on the lives of Black people to tell us they shouldn't have to live their life educating. I know as somebody with a disability that I spend so much of my life being an educator, and you know, I have got to a point where I don't mind it as much, but it shouldn't just be a given that our friends from a different race or a different upbringing should be the ones to constantly educate us. So let's use this time to really educate ourselves, and more than anything to empower and amplify and elevate Black voices, because this has gone on for too long now and it can't go on any longer. So if everyone does their bit, maybe we can be the driving force. Maybe this generation can be the driving force to really break the mold, and what an exciting time ahead if that's what we can do. So please, everyone, keep doing your bit, and remember that your bit can come however you want it to come. I think it's okay for people to do their bit in the way that they want to do their bit. Some people were out protesting, others felt that they couldn't go and protest at this time because of the pandemic. And I just think as long as you're doing your version and making a difference in your way, then that is what's most important. So yes, let's use this time wisely. Models of Diversity is fantastic. Anybody watching this will know that, and I'm sure that's why you're here. They are an incredible charity, and one that I am so proud to be an ambassador for. I thought it might be useful to just talk through how I became an ambassador for Models of Diversity. So I'm an actor, and I trained in London at drama school, and my first few years I was very lucky, but I wasn't enjoying my time in London as much as I wished I was enjoying my time in London. So at the end of 2016, I made the decision to move to Manchester, completely out of the blue. It was in the October. I thought, I'm struggling in London and I need to make a change, and I thought, where shall I go? And Manchester just seemed like a nice place, and the people seemed friendly, so I thought that's where I would move to. And it was a really terrifying decision to make, but one that paid off quite quickly, actually. It was, for me, my version of being brave. And at 26, it was a nerve-wracking decision to make, because I didn't really have any friends in Manchester. I only knew a couple of people, and I was leaving all of my friends behind in London. So I do think that sometimes you just have to make those massive leaps and hope that they're going to work out for the best. And for me, it did. I was incredibly fortunate. I was able to work almost straight away, and I was cast in Coronation Street as a character that ended up going in and out a few times over the last couple of years. And it was in my first stint in Corrie that Angel got hold of my agent and said, you know, we'd love to do an interview with Mellisa. And that's just how it started. It started with one little interview, and then before I knew it, the relationship just grew and grew, and here we are today. But one of the things that I think is really important that my story matches along with models of diversity is this desperate need to want to change the way that people in this world view body difference and disability. And I know for me, my personal story is that I had quite a tough time with it growing up. So I was born without my right arm, so it finishes just at my elbow. And that means that the muscles on the right side of my body are a lot shorter than the muscles on my left. So I get a lot of pain in my right side and I end up sort of dipping to one side quite a lot. So I have to work on that quite a bit. So when I was born, the doctor and the nurses actually wrapped me up in a blanket and told my mum and dad that I was perfect. Which always makes me laugh because I'm not sure what they thought was going to happen. Maybe they just wanted my mum and dad to like uncover me and then realise I had an arm missing and thought, you know, it might have dropped off in the hospital. So I'm not really sure what they thought was going to happen by just wrapping me up and not telling my parents. My dad had noticed that something was different and he said to the doctor, look, I think I saw something and I need you to tell me what it was that I've seen. And that's when the doctor said, look, there is a small problem. Mellisa was born without her forearm and her hand. And my parents thought it was the end of the world. They really thought that having, I was their firstborn, and they were terrified at this life that I was going to live with such a difference, because they just didn't know. They didn't see it on TV, they didn't see it in books or magazines, and so for them it was going to be a scary life that they were going to have to, you know, go on with me. So I'd say that story kind of looks at how I ended up living my life, really. Throughout my childhood and my teenage years, I think it's fair to say that when we're teenagers especially, we have a lot of body hang-ups and we worry a lot about different parts of our body. And for me, having one arm was sort of even bigger than that. You know, I wished I didn't have freckles. I love my freckles now. I wished I had bigger boobs. I wished that I had bigger hips. But all of those things that my friends and I wished we had was sort of nothing in comparison to the fact that I just wished that I could have been like them and had two arms, really, and looked like them. And what that did was it led to some really sort of dark and upsetting times for me as a teenager. I would not leave the house without a long sleeved cardigan, without jumpers, or with a cardigan over my arm. I would never sort of wear strappy tops like this. Where I lived, we used to have under 18s nights. So you'd have there was a nightclub, and if you were under 18, you could go to this nightclub. And this is in the sort of 2000s, and the boys had to queue up on one side and the girls had to queue up on another. And where we got off the bus, we used to have to walk past the boys, and it meant that I had to show this side of my arm. So what I would do is I would run ahead of my friends and pretend that I'd just seen someone that I thought I knew, and then pretend that actually, no, it wasn't anyone that I knew, so that I could turn around and walk backwards so that the boys would only see my left side. And I would do things like this all the time. I would plan ahead. If I was going on dates, I would make sure that I'd get there before the other person. If I ordered food that I needed cutting up, I would pretend I was going to the toilet, but really I'd go to the kitchen and ask them to cut my meals up for me. But weirdly, the boys never noticed that my food came out cut up, which I always found really strange, because they'd have like a full steak and I'd have one cut up, and never once did they notice. So that was always interesting. So yeah, I would face a different way in photos. I knew exactly how to sit, stand, dress, gesture, posture. I knew everything, how to keep my arm covered, and learn to live my life as if I had two arms, so that everyone that I was with thought that I also had two arms. And that was really draining. That was so draining. And I know that I hope that that feels relatable, in the sense that you don't just have to have one arm to be able to feel like that. I think that we've all got parts of our body that we know how to stand in photos. We know what side to stand. We know what to wear. We know how to pull tops out in a certain way so that, you know, we can control how we look. And that's what we do. We become masters of how we want people to see us. And what that does is it becomes draining. It's tiring and it's draining. And it means that we're not living our lives to the full. It means that actually we're restricting ourselves, and we're keeping this bit of ourselves back, because we're terrified of people seeing the whole of us, all of us. And I think that learning to get rid of those restrictions is not easy. But in saying that, if it is easy, that's also okay. I am so fed up with hearing that, you know, oh, doesn't she love herself? Doesn't he love himself? You know, yeah. I'm glad that there are people out there that are absolutely in love with their bodies, and for them maybe it did happen overnight, and that's also okay. But if it doesn't happen overnight, then it is a huge journey. And my journey started when I was 25. I had really had enough. I'd been with my partner, who I'm still with, Matt. I had to tell him on our third date. I had to sit him down and tell him that I only had one arm, which I know sounds ridiculous because I'm showing it off now. But back then, people wouldn't know, because you don't go into a situation thinking that somebody might just have one arm. So if they don't give you any reason to think that, then you're just not going to think it. So he was part of quite a few lads that, you know, I dated, and that just hadn't noticed, and I had to sit him down and tell him that I only had one hand, and he sort of didn't. He was so confused, and he said, "I don't get it. How do you only have one hand? You know, this is the third time I've met you. Blah blah blah." Anyway, it was fine. He was okay with it. Of course, he was okay with it. He was always going to be okay with it. But I woke up almost one morning and realized that I could not do this anymore. I could not be so scared of this body that I was in, because I loathed it, and that's so horrible. It's so horrible to live your life in this precious body that has been there for you all the way through your life, this body that has seen you cry, that has seen you laugh, that has helped you give birth, that has been there when you've fallen in love, that has been there when you've lost someone really close to you, this precious body of yours that deserves nothing but love. It's really, really hurtful when you hate it that much. And it was that hatred for it that was just becoming so draining, and I knew I couldn't do it anymore, and that I needed to start working on how I was, first of all, going to accept it, then how I was going to embrace it, and then how I was going to celebrate it. And I think through lots of different things, I really got into fitness. There was a fitness, there's a fitness initiative called Pound Workout. And this isn't an ad for them, don't worry. It's just they massively changed my life, so I have to mention them. Pound is a drumming workout, so you have rip sticks and you drum with no drums, and it is just incredible. It gives you the most wonderful feeling. You feel completely badass, and it was that, and being part of this community of people that meant that I could post my first ever selfie on Facebook showing my arm, because I'd never done that before. It meant that I could go out without a cardigan, and I made myself an aim. It was a month-long challenge, and I made myself the aim that at the end of the month I would go to Matt's rugby dinner and dance, and I would take off my cardigan and I would dance with him, maybe just one dance, because before then I loved dancing, but I let this hatred for my body not let me enjoy dancing anymore. And when you stop dancing, you take away so much of your freedom, because dance is free and it's wonderful. And when you restrict yourself, that can be really, really damaging. So I told myself that at the end of May in 2016, I would go to Matt's rugby dinner and dance, and I would not wear a cardigan, and I would dance with him for at least one dance. And that's exactly what I did. And again, I'm not going to make out that this just happened and it was wonderful and then my life was changed forever. Of course it wasn't. Of course I still, had to very much work on making the little voices in my head a lot quieter. But it really is about finding those moments where you need to push yourself. And I think it's really hard to push yourself if you forget why. So one of the things that I think is really important to take away, and it's one thing that I did, I'm very lucky to have footage of myself as a child. When I was born in 1990, my granddad bought a camcorder, and so he sort of documented quite a lot of my life. And I'm very fortunate to have those videos, but if you don't have videos, maybe some photos. And what I did was I spent months looking at myself as a child and remembering that this little girl that was so free and so liberated and that would dance and that loved her body, she was still in there. She was still in there, and my gosh, she deserved the world. And I wasn't giving her the world. I was giving her a very restricted view. I was allowing her to stay locked up and not show the world what she was worth. And I thought, she doesn't deserve that. She has had to face so many things in her life and she doesn't deserve that. And I need to do better by her. And I would keep a photo of my younger self near me, and I would, every time it felt like I was taking a backward step or like I wanted to put the cardigans back on, I would look at the photo and remind myself of exactly why I needed to keep doing what I was doing, and that spurred me on constantly. I won't delve into it too much, but in 2018, after being Coronation Street for the first time, my iCloud got hacked and I had photos of me leaked all over the internet, and it was all over the papers. And I am just so grateful that I had spent those couple of years before loving the body that I was in, because it meant that I got to combat that situation in the best way that I think I could. I turned it into a response, and I turned it into a response that looks at how we need to stop body shaming and slut shaming people all over the world, any gender or whichever gender that you identify as. It particularly happens in women, and it is so damaging, and it has to stop. And we have to bring our next generation of young people up to know that if something like this happens, if someone gets hold of a photo of you, and you don't have to be in the public eye for someone to have a photo of you, you could have a young person getting changed and someone could get a photo of them and they could share it around. There are so many ways of these things happening, and I don't think we can stop it from happening. I feel like there isn't a way of us being able to stop people getting photos of us. I think technology is moving a lot faster than our law is, and so what I would like to do is I would rather spend our energy on building up our next generation of young people to know that if something like this happens to you, if someone has photos of you, and I know it's been happening a lot weirdly during the pandemic, people have been getting emails to say, I've got photos of you, I've hacked into your webcam, all of these things. If that happens, okay, it's not right, it's a complete disrespect of your privacy, but you will deal with it. And you will deal with it because that young person inside you deserves so much better than for you to hide away because of what somebody else did. And if I can help in any way to supporting the next generation, the generation now, anyone, to remember why they deserve to love all of their body, every single bit of it, because if you're hiding any bit of it away, then you're not living the life that you deserve to live, and you do deserve to live it. You deserve to enjoy your body in the same way as anyone else. And that doesn't have to be, because I'm not just talking about disability, I'm talking about any part of your body that you feel is different, a part of your body that you struggle with. Just remember that you were not born hating the way you look. Something in society told you that it was wrong, that you should look like this, that the way you look isn't right. And it's learnt behaviour. We learn to not like our bodies. And if we learn to not like them, the good thing about that is that we can learn to like them again, and then we can learn to love them, and then we can learn to fall in love with them so much that we are just riddled with pride. And I know that I absolutely love the body that I have. I love my arm. I love it so much. It has given me some of the most wonderful opportunities, because I've lived a different experience by being different to other people. So I guess my closing message would be, take what makes you different. What is it that makes you different? It can be anything. It can be something about the way you were brought up. It could be something about your culture. It could be something about your body. It could be anything. Take what makes you different and magnify it, glorify it, make it the best thing that you own, because it's that is the driving force of beauty in the world that we live in. It's our difference. And I'm not saying don't let people get you down. We can't help that. It's okay if people get you down. That's all right. People get me down a lot when they say things. I don't act like I am bulletproof, because I'm not. But what I do is I let that feeling sit with me. And if someone has stared for a long time, if someone's been pointing and laughing and giggling, which can happen, quite frequently, that made me maybe feel a little bit crap. So I'll go home and I'll put on a film and I'll eat a massive bar of chocolate, or I'll do something that's just about me for a minute, and I'll be really gentle with myself. And then I'll get that photo back out and I'll remember why I have to keep fighting, because I know that little girl still deserves me to fight every day. So I hope that you are all able to remember that little person inside you. Remember how they used to play. Remember how they used to connect with other people, how pure it was, how they would love and use every part of their body. Please just remember that when things get tough, and remember how much they deserve you to live the best life that you can possibly live. They deserve that more than anything, and they're still there. They're still in you. So, yeah, I'm so sorry. I've just gone on and on at you for a very long time there. It's now 26 minutes past 8, so I'm so sorry about that. If anyone does have any questions, please do ask me over the next couple of minutes. Thank you so much, Will, Angelica, Selena, thank you so much. Shelley's just joined. I've got Goddess Diamonds on here. I've got, now I don't want to say this wrong. Is it Ivana? Ivan? Now, I should know this because I just love all of the stuff. All of your work is beautiful. So I'm I'm so sorry for saying your name wrong, because my gosh, I love your work. It's brilliant. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Angel. Yes, so many lovely people saying wonderful things. Someone's just said, it's funny that you mentioned looking at a picture of yourself as a little girl, because I have some feeling when I see a pic of myself as a little girl. Yes, well, you have the same feeling, absolutely. Yeah, it's wonderful to be able to look at those photos of yourself. And also if if you maybe have children, I don't have children, but if you've got that little person in your life too, I imagine that quite often you can see yourself in them. So that must feel pretty special too. Thank you, Rachel. That's really lovely. Thank you for your support. You're always so incredibly supportive. So thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you giving up your time to Charlotte. Why the heck are you? That's very cute. Thank you, Charlotte. I think you're just as awesome. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, thank you for giving up your time, and please remember, I'm sure I don't need to preach to people on here. I'm sure that you've made your own minds up on the Black Lives Matter movement, and just I'm sure you appreciate how important this time is. So let's use it. Let's be allies, and yeah, let's just work together to make sure that we smash this world into a million pieces so that we can build it back up and make it even better than before. That would be wonderful. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and yes, maybe I will get to speak to you soon. Yeah, thank you so much. I guess I literally just click end now. I'm guessing that's what I do. Not very used to this. So I am going to click end. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.